Hi guys, my name is Mayana. Welcome to Maya Core, and today I'm going to be doing my December wrap up. So in the month of December, I read 28 books, and so I just want to talk about it. But also back in like 2022, I did a wrap up where I crocheted and I just talked about the books, and I don't know why I never considered doing it again. I think it's because like I didn't have that many books, and so I was a beginner crocheter, so I didn't really realize like how long projects take. And so I was like, oh, I can't do this in a long form video, but like I can. And I really want to bring back crocheting and talking about what I read. So I am currently making a blanket. I am crocheting a star blanket, and this is the blanket so far. I kind of hate it, kind of love it. Like this part, like these first two rows I love, and then I ran out of color, so I have to change it. I hate this pink. Like they tricked me. I thought this pink was gonna be, this is like a highlighter pink, and I don't like it. But I think once I do a second row, it'll make a lot more sense, and I'm almost on my second row. And so today I'm going to be crocheting and talking to you about what I read in December. I had a really good December, y'all. Like I feel like this year was like a really bad year reading wise, and in December I mostly have 4 and 5 star reads. Like I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is crazy, y'all. Like I did count my class books. I don't know why people don't count their class books in the books that they read. So like I did count like my anthropology, my psychology, biology, and business textbooks because I read them. So why would I not? And I could find them on Goodreads, so why would I not count them? That I don't understand why people don't count school stuff. Now getting into like the books that I actually read this month. So the first book I read was Cruel Summer with You by Ali Hazelwood, and I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Also, sorry if I'm not looking at the camera because I'm crocheting. I'm going to be looking at my crochet project a lot, so I'm so sorry if I'm not looking at the camera like enough or whatever, because I know sometimes y'all can get a little catty. First book I read is Cruel Summer with You by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this was really fun. This is about this girl. It's about to be Christmas, and her dad sends her over to her best friend's house to get like this specific like pot that he needed, that they had to like make like a cake or something for Christmas. And she ends up running into her best friend's younger brother, and they kind of had like this fling, and they kind of had something going on, and she fucked it up. And then you're going through like the memories that they had. And listen, I'm a sucker for best friend's brother trope. I love brother's best friend more, but like I love best friend's brother. This trope was really interesting because he was younger than her, and usually in like the best friend's brother, the brother will be the older one. So I found this very interesting, and this is like the first Ali Hazelwood book that I have like really enjoyed in a while. I know a lot of people didn't necessarily love this book, but I had a lot of fun with it. I didn't read the rest of the series because the reviews were terrible for the rest of the series. Also, there was no black authors included, and once I realized that, I was like, bye. The hell? This book I read is Puck Black. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. This is a brother's best friend hockey romance. I love the trope, like what can I say? And it is about this girl who, because of her brother and her brother's best friend, she is not really allowed to like have really any experiences for real or really date around or anything like that, because they kind of ruin all of it for her. Like they'll see her talking to a guy and they'll shut that shit down fast, and it really makes her upset. So she enlists her brother best friend to help her date because she's in college now. Like they're grown adults at this point and they're still like doing this shit. So she enlists her brother's best friend to help her like learn how to date and like date guys, and then they end up falling in love. Obviously this book was fine. I did think like the brother being like a fully grown adult and like still trying to like tell the sister like who she can and can't date was like weird, because she's a grown adult and like if like you're not her dad. Like it just was really weird, but it was fine. And then I read Can I Tell You Something, which is another Christmas book, and this was really good. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is about this girl who, she listens, like if you've ever heard of the Quinn app, it's like this app where guys kind of record audios, like spicy smut audios. Like sometimes it'll just be like really simple, like sometimes like celebrities will do stuff like reading like some random ass like fantasy audiobook, like, oh, you're the princess and I'm the bodyguard type of shit. But like really it's for guys to record smut audios, and women. I've seen women on there. It's for guys to record smut audio. Basically he is he ends up like, he's like on Reddit, but I kind of think it was like the Quinn app, like, I'm sorry, but he does it on like Reddit or whatever. Anyway, so she there's this guy and she's like obsessed with him, and she like DMs him often, and she he never responds to her, and so she is going to her family's like cabin for Christmas break, and her brother is bringing his new best friend that he got. Lo and behold, she immediately knows who the guy is because he posts pictures of himself online. Lo and behold, the guy, the best friend, is the guy that she's been listening to these audiobooks of. And so he sees her and he's really enamored by her. She's so beautiful, blah 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 blah. So he goes to the best friend's profile and he finds the sister, and he ends up finding out that she's been DMing his ass. First of all, this lady is insane. She's fucking crazy. What are you doing DMing? Like, why would you do that? Why would you think that's a normal thing to do, to just go and DM this guy that you listen to small audios of? You think he's gonna read your DMs, see you and be like, oh my gosh, she listened to my small audio book? I mean, yes, that's exactly what she thought. And like, the DM she was sending him was not normal. Like, it would be like, just listen to this audiobook and have the best nut of my life. And it's like, girl, can you be normal? What the hell? Like, it was a, but like, despite me complaining, it was actually a really fun book. It was really cute, like, despite like the really smutty settings, which like I love that, and it was really unique. And I just been really, like, my theme for December, you'll realize, is that the books that I loved are books that don't center around tropes, or tropes that are like really popular. Like, the books that I enjoyed this month are books that just have like, they're just books and they're just romances, and they don't, it's not trying to do, oh, only one bed and fake dating and enemies to lovers and I'm gonna see how many tropes I can put in this book. No, like, it's literally just a book. Like, that's really what I love this month. So the next book I read was The Fake Out, and this was actually recommended by Kimmy from Kimmy Books. She was like doing a live and she was talking about hockey romances, and somebody asked for a rec and she gave this one, and it sounded good. So I was like, you know what the hell, sure. So this book is about this girl who is like a physical something for this hockey team, and her boyfriend is transferred into the team, so she decides to fake date his like rival. And I really liked this book. I thought it was fun. And one thing I really liked about this book is once they got together, the friends were like, they had placed a bet and they were like, oh, like, yeah. And I really love that about fake dating, like when people place a bet, like when everybody can see that you're meant to be together but you. But yeah, I thought it was really fun. I really like this author's writing. I'm gonna continue on with the series, but I just want to read some other stuff. Who knows if I'll ever finish, because you know, once I start reading a romance series, I'm never going back, girl. The next book I read is Second Chance Christmas, and I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. This book is about this girl who ex-boyfriend broke up with her when she was a teen because her mom was an alcoholic, and her mom got into a car crash that killed her mom and his brother. And so he like really resented her after that, and honestly the way he broke up with her was like really mean, and that's the reason why I didn't like this story, because he like said some really evil shit to her. Like, it was like really mean, and I don't even know how like somebody could move past that. And so basically she now is like a single mom. She's recently divorced, and she ends up going back to her hometown and running into him, and they end up sparking his romance. But they just pretend like none of that shit ever happened. Like, they just pretend like none of that evil shit he said to her never happened. And it just really, I don't know, it really upset me. Also, why the fuck did the ex-husband have his own POV in this book? And not 1, not 2, but 3 POVs. What? And we were like learning about like his new girlfriend that he had, and I'm like, this read more like a women's fiction than like a Christmas romance book. And also, the main character doesn't even run into her ex-boyfriend until 30% into this book. And yes, it's a short book, but you're literally just sitting here reading about her mundane life as like a single mom. I didn't care. I really didn't. I'm sorry. I really didn't. It's not even like it was building up to the story itself. And then like when they meet up again, like they just pretend like none of that shit that he said to her happened. Like, he really said some mean shit to her, y'all. Like, I was perplexed. I couldn't do it. I was like, no. Like, I was so disappointed. So then I read Teen Titans Raven and Teen Titans Beast Boy, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I really read this because I wanted to read some comics on my Kobo, and I'm really in my DC era right now. I'm still obsessed with Batman. But the books never even went to my damn Kobo. What I realized is that it takes Libby books like about a day or 2 to go to my Kobo, which kind of sucks because like in that time I would have already read the book. I did read this on my Books Palma, which was really interesting because I had read it in black and white, so that made it really fun. Well, not the Beast Boy one, because I was confused on when he got turned into the Beast Boy, but whatever. These were like really fun. I don't know if I'll continue on with them. Like, I don't know if they're fun enough continue on. Like, you're probably like, how do you get something 4 stars but you don't want to continue? I don't know. I read We Used to Live Here, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars, and this was really fun because I was watching Allie from Allie Dua's Read, and nobody else, she tells you what nobody else tells you. Nobody else tells you that this book, like, you have to do, like, they have like Morse code in this book and things that you're supposed to like decode and stuff like that. Nobody tells you that shit. Anyways, this book is about this sapphic, this lesbian couple who lives in this house, and one day one of the girlfriends is out doing something and these people knock on the door. And so the other girlfriend is like home alone, and so these people knock on the door and they're like, hey, we used to live here, like, well, I used to live here, I want to give my family a tour of this house. And at first she's kind of like, no bitch, but they keep pestering. She sees the little girl looks so excited, now she's sad. She's like, you know what, hell yeah, come on in, y'all. So they come in, and then the little girl decides she wants to hide in the fucking basement, and then they're like, well, gotta wait her out. And she's like, get your daughter out of my fucking house, bitch. And they're like, yeah, it's best to just leave her down there. So then they're just like going around the house, and then some weird shit starts happening. And honestly, it's a little bit like, I don't want to talk too much into it because I don't want to like spoil it for you guys, but it was actually really cool. And it's had like this own like Reddit group, which after I read the book, I went and looked at the Reddit group, and that helped. And like I said, the book has like Morse code, but then I got bored halfway, not bored, but then like halfway through the book, I got tired of having to Google Morse code, like stopping to read the book to Google Morse code, because I was so into the book that I just decided, like, you know what, fuck it. But the Morse code was fun. Now I know a little bit of Morse code, like a little bit. I won't be able to do anything with what I know, but I know a little bit. Just thought the ending like wasn't, like, for how good and like how much the book builds up, the ending just wasn't it for me. Like, it wasn't terrible, but I just wanted a little bit more from the ending. And I didn't really love like the characters or anything else enough to like really get the book 5 stars. Like, the characters were interesting, I didn't fall in love with them. So then I read Sneaking Around with the Player, which is a Christmas romance. This is the second book to this Christmas romance I read a few years ago. It's called like something to play. I don't know, it was like another player book. Snowed In with the Player, something, girl. This one sucked. Like, I get this 2 out of 5 stars. So the first book was about this, it's about twins. So the first book was like the first twin sister, and this book was about the other twin sister. And so the twin sister, she ends up running into this guy in the airport, and like the entire book they're texting. Like, the entire book they're texting. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, this genuinely fucking sucks. Like, if I wanted to read a conversation about people texting, I would get on fucking Wattpad and I would go read text message romance. Like, why would I want to read that? And it's not even like it's a mixed media type of book either. Like, that would have been fine. No, they're just texting the entirety of the book, and then he randomly shows up at the cabin. Which, like, whatever. Then I read this book called Naughty or Nice, which I gave 2 out of 5 stars. It's about this girl who, her best friend is, family's like really into Christmas, but hers isn't. And so they run like this Christmas like shop type of thing. And so her dad, the best friend's dad, used to play Santa, but he like got sick, so he couldn't. So his brother ends up coming in, which is the best friend's uncle, and basically she ends up sparking this romance with the best friend's uncle. Y'all, I'm not really into this whole like boyfriend's dad or dating the best friend's uncle. Or I saw one where she was like, the girl was like dating her mom's fiance. I don't hate, like, I'm not against them, like, I don't care, like, I'll read it, but I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not really too much of a taboo reader. It doesn't really do anything for me. Like, I don't really care. Like, and then also their relationship was like very lustful. Like, they weren't, to me, they weren't giving romance, it was giving lust. It was giving I want to fuck type of book, and it wasn't giving, oh my gosh, she's the most beautiful girl in the world, I want to take her out, I want to buy her flowers. It's giving, oh my gosh, she's the most beautiful girl in the world, I want to take her out and I want to buy her flowers, and then at the end I want to smash. And that's not really romantic to me, so I didn't give a shit. And then I read Technically Speaking, which, I mean, I didn't really read it, I listened to it because I know how some of y'all like to get, but I listened to it. And this one is a audible, and I literally just listened to this while I was washing the dishes. And it's not like, it's available only on Audible, and it's about this woman who is a single mom, and her son has autism, and her baby dad is a piece of shit. She's like really into coding, and she wants to get into this tech company because she has this idea for this app, but because she doesn't have a degree, they kind of just like don't really give a fuck. And so one day she's at work, and this woman ends up dropping her ID, and her friend is like, hey, this woman kind of looks like you, and the ID is to the place that like she wants to like get in at. And so her friend proposes this idea like, hey, just pretend to be her and you can get in. And so she does that. She pretends to be the girl, and because her son like, he's going to a regular school. She's trying to get him into like this school for people with autism, but she can't afford it. And so she ends up like doing this because like she literally has nothing else to do, and she's up like lying about who she is, and she ends up like falling in love with the CEO. The girl's voiced by Coco Jones, and the guy's voiced by Keith Powers, who like I used to be really obsessed with, and I kind of stopped because the only reason why I stopped being obsessed with Keith Powers is because he's still playing a teenager. Like, this man is like pushing 30, and it's not his fault that he's being typecast. Like, I'm not saying that at all, but it's like, it's hard to like be obsessed with this guy who is always playing like a teen, and like this one role he was like adult, and I really love that. Also, that's Ryan Destiny's man, and like I don't want to like, girl, I truly believe that I could get with my celebrity crushes. So when they have girlfriends and stuff, I be backing off because I'm not a man stealer, girl. Delusional. Anyways, yeah, I thought this was really good. I gave it 4 out of 5. I don't like when people lie. Like, I don't like the whole like plot line, but I think this worked out well. I think that the lie dragged out for a little bit longer than my liking, which is at all, actually. Like I said, I really don't like when people lie, but this audiobook was like really fun, and it was really immersive, and I really enjoyed both of their voices together. Like, audiobooks are really fun sometimes. First Time Caller, which I had an arc of, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is about this woman who is also a single mom. I'm not really into like the single parent trope, but authors keep writing them, so whatever. I don't give a fuck, I guess. But yeah, so this woman, she's a single parent, and her daughter is like, girl, you're lonely as hell, and she ends up calling into this radio station, and it ends up going viral, and then they start doing this thing like The Bachelor, and think basically frenemies when like Trisha and Ethan like both kind of became friends, like when she went on the podcast and they were trying to like get her to like date these guys. Like, that's basically what happens. It's like they're like playing this Bachelorette thing, but like over a podcast, even though it's like a radio station. 400 pages, it was long as fuck, but whatever, it's pretty good. Then I reread The Duff, which the only reason why I have the book. The only reason why I'm not holding it up is 1, because I'm crocheting, and 2, because I'm using it as my tripod. So I reread The Duff because I was watching the movie, and I was like, I got a DVD player, and so I've been watching my DVDs, and so I was watching the movie, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna reread this book. And then I was talking to my best friend Mika, and she was like, this is a series, which like I think I knew, but then I don't remember knowing. So I did not continue on, and so I reread The Duff, gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Like, is it good? No, but it brings back memories. I read the second book, Shut Out, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I read this in high school, so this was a reread for me. I don't remember anything from this book. And then once I reread it, I was like, oh, maybe because it was literally boring. That's why I don't remember anything, because it was literally boring. I mean, I'm sure you know what The Duff is about. And then Shut Out is about this girl who decides that she is gonna, because her boyfriend's on a football team, and the football team is rivaling the soccer team, like their own soccer team, and it's taking away like the guys' attention from like their girlfriends, and it's like getting the guys into like dangerous situations and things like that. Oh, Apple, you're so cute. She's playing with her toy. And so she decides that she's gonna just have all the girls on the soccer team like stop having sex with the guys on the football team until they like get their shit together. And then her boyfriend obviously ends up cheating on her, and over summer they had broke up, and she had a fling with the guy from the soccer team. So once they break up, like she ends up like going out with the guy from the soccer team, and yeah, it was fine. And then I read Midsummer's Nightmare, about this girl who moves to the town. This all takes place in the same high school. She moves to the town, and she ends up sleeping with this guy, and then later on ends up realizing that the guy is her stepbrother, and like she never met them before. And so yeah, they have like their own little romance going on. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. Wesley and Bianca from The Duff show up in this one, so that was really fun, but otherwise I didn't care. There is another book in this series, but it's called Lying Out Loud, and it's literally about this girl who lies all the time. And I just said earlier, I don't like stories about people who lie, so obviously, for obvious reasons, I didn't continue on with the series. Then I read Cascade Failure, which is also a book that I own, but once again, it's being used as my tripod. So Cascade Fair is a sci-fi space opera book, like very typical, about this group of people who are put together to go on this mission, and their like leader is like this AI. And it was really fun. It was really cute. There are some like really cute moments in this book. Like one moment that I think about often is like when everybody was like celebrating like the successful mission or whatever, and the AI is like watching them all dance, and he realizes that like he can't do that, and it just made me sad. But my favorite thing about space operas is that they always have found family, and that's something to expect. And this one is like, I don't know, it was good, but it's like no different than your typical space opera. Like it didn't add anything to the table, and I think that's why I didn't like love it. And like there's a sequel that I don't even know if I want to read, because it's like it's the same story over again, and it's like I don't know if I really want to sit through that, even though this was good. I don't know if that makes any sense. Then I read Comfort Me with Apples, and I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. I don't really want to go too much into what it's about, because I don't want to like spoil anything for anyone. I really don't want to say any, like I don't want to say too much. I just really liked it. I didn't think I was gonna like it. I just kind of read it while I cleaned my room and like took out the trash, and by the time I literally took out the trash, and then I came in my room, swept, and then sat down and ate a slice of pizza, and by the time I was done doing all of that, I was done with the audiobook. And it was a really good audiobook to listen to, if you like want something to listen to while you do chores, because I love like a good chore audiobook. Like I always have an audiobook when I do the dishes, and when I clean my room I always have an audiobook. Then I read this series called The Superlatives. It's a trilogy. It's a random YA series. I read this because when I read The Duff, I realized like how much I miss like reading like 2015 YA books. I do this pretty often, like almost every year. Well, I'll pick like a random year of YA books that I want to read from, and then I'll read it, and it kind of rejuvenates, like kind of feel like The Duff like rejuvenated my love for like reading, because I just realized like how much I like miss these type of books, and like how like I do think that writing recently has like dwindled, and kind of like anybody can get published. Sorry, but that's just how I feel. This is how far I've gotten so far, in case you're wondering. I actually read it backwards. I read the second book, and then the first book, and then the third book. But I'm going to talk about them in the order so that I don't confuse you guys, but most importantly, so that I don't confuse myself. So the first book is called Biggest Flirt, and it is about, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It's about this character. It's about, these series follows his friend groups. Their names are Tia, Harper, and Kay. So the first book follows Tia, and she's like a party girl. She's a flirt, and she ends up getting voted biggest flirt for the school superlatives. And so there's this new guy that comes into town, and he's like one of the only guys that she hasn't flirted with, and they end up starting their own romance, and it was fun. It was fine. And then the second book, which is Perfect Couple, which there's this 2 students, and they were voted perfect couple that never was. And so the guy, he's like a jock, he plays football, he's the quarterback, and she's a nerd. And so this has like the classic like jock and nerd trope, which I miss. This follows their romance. And then the next book is Most Likely to Succeed, and I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. And this is about the class, like this class clown slash bad boy, and characters are already like in a relationship, and her name's Kay, and then the love interest name is Sawyer, and he's like the class clown slash bad boy, and he like never dates girls for too long, and he's the school mascot. He's always like picking on her, and she kind of likes him, but she has a boyfriend, and she knows that like he would never get serious with anyone, but she's always like daydreaming like if they did. And it's just like, oh, it was just so good. And all year I had been looking for like a class clown type of trope, but like I couldn't find one. And so when I was reading The Duff, I was like looking through books that came out in 2015, and I came across this series, and I saw that this had the class clown trope, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I also was looking for like quarterback, like, and like good girl, like nerd girl trope too. So I got like a 2-for-1 in this series. And these books aren't heavily trope filled. Like I just really love that like the books that I read this month weren't like heavily trope filled. It was just really good, and it's on my best books of the year if you want to hear me talk about it some more. I just loved it. I love like what this book is about. I love like it's literally about like she feels like everyone like kind of has her life planned out for her, and it's kind of like nobody's in, it's like just like about like how nobody is in control of your life but you, and nobody can tell you what you should do with your life but you. And this romance was so good, and this series talks about like sex and drugs and partying and stuff like that, and it just felt like a real YA book. Because I remember when I was in high school and I was reading these books, like I felt like they felt very Disney Channel. They didn't feel like YA books felt like, I don't know, like very just like scrubbed down. Because I used to read Wattpad, And so when I read Wattpad, they would be talking about parties and drugs and sex and stuff like this. And then I will go and read a published book, and it's like watered down. Like when your parent gives you watered down apple juice, and you go to your friend's house and you taste regular apple juice, and you're like, what the fuck? Apple juice tastes like this the whole time? My mom never did that, but you know, it's kind of how it felt. And so obviously, you know, like, I don't know, I'm not one of those people who don't believe that teens shouldn't have sex, because you can't tell anybody what to do. You can't tell teens what to do, and when you tell them not to do something, they're gonna want to do it more. The best you can do is make sure they're doing it safely and to educate them. I'm not saying that you should encourage them, but to educate them. And this book does talk about practicing, like, this book does practice like safe sex and things like that. So hey, teens are going to talk about these things whether they're doing it or not. So I think like not including them in your books kind of just like holds it back, because if you're gonna, like, you can at least teach them like, okay, do it responsibly if you're going to be doing these things. And anyways, this book takes place in like a small beach town in Florida, which I love beach towns. I want to live on a beach town. This book was just everything to me, and it's so crazy because the cover is so, it's not hideous, but it's so 2015. It's so random. It's a YA book that came out a decade ago, and I loved it. Like, what type of alternate universe am I in? What the hell? And then another 5-star read. Then next I read Sex, Lies, and Sensibility, and this is a Sense and Sensibility retelling. And this is about this girl who father passes away and he leaves her his inn, and so she goes to the inn and she ends up coming across the main character Bear, who's Native American, and he has a business like helping people, and so he is like helping her, and they're both really standoffish towards each other in the beginning, and they end up like sparking this romance, and it's like one of my favorite romances I've read this year. This is also in my best books of the year video, so if you want to hear me talk about it more and gush about it, then definitely go check that out. Well, we'll watch it when it comes out. I don't know, I loved it. It's so crazy because when I first started it, I was like, I was like, I'm just gonna see if I'm gonna end up DNFing this, and then I end up like really liking it, and I get to 50%. I'm like, I'm loving it, but it's like I don't get those like flutters that I get when I read romance books, and then I got those, and then it just ended up being my favorite book of the year. It's my favorite book of all time, maybe. It's like literally 400 pages, and it kind of proves my point that like books these days don't need to be 400 pages. And not in the sense that like I don't think that this needs to be 400 pages. I think that this needs to be longer, and it's because this book actually has stuff going on. It focuses on the family dynamics. It focuses on the main character and her, because like there's like this sex tape that releases of this main character, and she feels like it's hindering her career, so she's like thinking about that often. And then it also follows the love interest life and like everything that he has going on, and he has shit going on in his life. And it just, the ending was a bit dramatic, yeah, but it was like fine. It's a Jane Austen retelling, like I wouldn't expect it to be anything but dramatic, right? And so personally, I really love this book. One of my favorite books of all time now. And then after that, I was like, I'm gonna read Pride and Protest, which I had seen around. The title kind of doesn't do any justice, because I'm thinking it's literally about to be like about protest, and I'm like, I kind of really don't feel like reading this right now. But actually, after reading the description, I was like, no, wait, this sounds actually kind of good. So it's about this girl, and her city is being like gentrified, and so there's like this dance that's being held by the people who are doing it, and she goes to like protest. But then she's up running to this guy, and he's Filipino, and she thinks that like he's working for the company. But it's like, not only is he working for the company, but he's actually the CEO, because he was adopted. And so you know, and so they end up like sparking this like enemies to lovers romance. Both this and Sex, Lies, and Sensibility are not really heavily trope filled. This is also 400 pages. It makes a lot of sense. It's literally about, so it also focuses on families. It focuses on both these characters' families. It focuses, it's just so good. It focuses on so much, and I literally loved it. I do love Sex, Lies, and Sensibility more because Bear is like more my type. Like, he's like very like stoic, and he's not grumpy, but he's kind of like, you know, he's not, I don't know, he's not grumpy, but he's not grumpy, but he's also like very caring, and he cares about his community. And this book is very community filled, which I love that about this book. I love books that like center around community, and he cares about his community, and he loves camping, and he loves eating, and I love a man who can eat. Okay, I love a man who can eat. And it was just, I don't know, it was just such a surprise. And so Sex, Lies, and Sensibility is definitely my favorite of the two. And I'm gonna be like, literally all I need to do is give this author one more 5-star, and she's my favorite, and she'll be like one of my favorites, like, which is so crazy. And then I read Horror Movie, which I gave 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like, it was fine, but it's just like, I really liked the audiobook because it was really immersive. Like, you could hear like the page turning, like when they did the table read, and like if people messed up they kept it in there, and it just made it feel like real. And like, I don't know, I really liked that part of the book. It was fine. Like, it's just about this guy who it was in this horror movie that never ended up coming out, and it was like a cult classic even though it never finished because of like a bunch of stuff went down. And so they're doing a reboot of it, so you follow like them working on the reboot, and then you follow like the script. And so I thought it was fine. Like, yeah, it was a good book. The plot, like the ending was good, but it's just like, I don't know, it was kind of from the beginning to the end, like there had some interesting scenes and it was fascinating, but it wasn't like good enough, if that makes sense. So then lastly, I read Monstrelia, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. And this book is gay as hell. First of all, why didn't nobody tell me that? Why didn't nobody tell me this book is gay? Why didn't nobody tell me the whole family is gay as hell? Why did y'all leave that out? This book is about this woman who is grieving her son who died. And so she takes a piece of his lung and she goes to like, she leaves her husband, she goes to like live with her mom. And so when she's living there, her mom has like this maid, and the maid is like, oh, back in my town, we have this like lore that if you feed, you know, the body part of something food, like something will happen. And so she's like, huh, what do I have to lose? She feeds the lung ends up growing into something called Monstrelia. And so it's about this family and this Monstrelia. And honestly, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars and not 5 out of 5 stars because the second chapter took me out of the story. Like, it only has 4 chapters, and the second chapter personally took me out the story. Like, I think it was just weirdly placed. No, I think it wasn't weirdly placed, because like, where else could it have been placed? But it couldn't have been better placed, actually. It shouldn't have been there at all, to be honest. And it kind of like, I was just like reading it, and I was like really loving the story, and I got to that chapter because these chapters are like an hour long too. So I'm like reading it, I get to this chapter, I'm like, damn, this is kind of boring. And then I don't know, so I like sat through, because I was crocheting, so I sat through it, and then I got to the 3rd chapter, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is actually really interesting. Like, whoa, this is really good. So I really enjoyed this book. I didn't love it as much as everybody else did though, which is really sad, but I still really loved it. So yeah, that's it for my November wrap up. I read 28 things. A lot of these books ends up in my best books of the year, which is so crazy. Like, what? This is what I got so far. So I have this end, and then the beginning of this part. I was literally turning it. So I only have 2 more left. That's it for this video. Let me know if you want to see more of these like crochet with me while I talk about books, but I need a break because my hand hurts. So I'll see you guys in my next video.